Hi guys, apologies there's no class today, but what I'd like you to do is to go through this video going through the density calculations that we had for homework. So before I start, the important thing I need you all to remember is our density and mass and volume triangle. This triangle is going to help us do all of our calculations. So remember, if we want to figure out what the density is, we cover the D and we're left with our formula M divided by V. Remember then, if the letters are on top of each other, that means to divide, and if the letters are beside each other, that means we're going to multiply. So in our first question, it's asking us to calculate its density, and it's giving you the mass and it's giving you the volume. So using our formula, we cover the D and we're left with mass divided by volume. Our mass is 40.5 grams. Our volume is 15 mils, so my answer ends up being 2.7 grams per mil, and we always use the units that are given to us in the question. In the question 2, we have, again, we're calculating the density, so we need to find our mass, which is 306, and our volume, which is 22.5. All of the figures should be given to you in the question. So my density is equal to mass divided by volume is equal to 306 divided by my 22.5, all of which I've gotten from the question, leaving me with 13.6 grams per milliliter cubed. Don't forget to include your units. It's always really important to include our units in each of the question, and we got our units from the units given to us in the question. Okay, for question 3, this time around the question is a little bit different. We're being asked to figure out what the mass is, given that we have the volume and we have the density of the particular liquid. So if we want to figure out what the mass is, I cover the mass in my triangle and I'm left with D multiplied by V. So mass is equal to density multiplied by volume. So our density is 0.789. Our volume is 200, so my answer ends up being 0.8 grams. Now the reason it's grams, folks, is if we have a look for our density in the question, we can see that it's grams per milliliter cubed, so my unit for mass must be in grams. Okay, question 4 is a little bit tricky. It gives you the mass, but it doesn't give me a volume. It does, however, give me measurements to figure out what the volume is. So that's the first thing we're going to have to do. So volume is equal to length by width by height, which is equal to 8.4 by 5.5 by 4.6. Multiplying all of those into my calculator, guys, you get 212.52 centimeters cubed. So that's the figure for my volume. To calculate what the density is, then we take our mass, which is 1,896, divided by our volume, which is 212.52, which is equal to 8.92 grams per centimeters cubed. Question 5, this time around we're being asked to figure out what volume is. So if we're looking at our equations, we have to figure out what's the equation for volume. So we cover the V and we're left with M divided by D. So volume is equal to mass divided by density. Our mass in this instance is 2,500 grams. Again, I get that from the question, divided by the density, which I also get from the question, which is 10.5, and my answer is 238.095. Now my unit, centimetre cubed. Again, how do I figure out what my unit is? I go to my density and I can see the 2 units in the density figure are grams per centimetre cubed, so my unit for volume must be centimetres cubed. The final question then, guys, is to find the mass. So this time around we're looking for the mass. We know if we want to figure out what the mass is, we're going to have to go back and look at our equation. So we cover the mass and we're left with our formula that mass is equal to density multiplied by volume. My density is 0.8765 and my volume is 250, so I get an answer of 219.125 grams. How do I know that it's grams? Well, if I look at my units given to me for density, the unit there is grams. So guys, at this moment in time, hopefully you've paused the video where you needed to. Hopefully you've written your calculations and your corrections, most importantly, into your copy. And if you've any questions, I'd really encourage you to write them down, send me a message about them, or include them in our post on Schoology. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will be back to normal, and I will see you in class on Thursday. Follow the rest of the instructions on the Schoology post for the rest of the work that I'd like you to complete. Hope you're well, and I'll see you soon.